You're listening to FullCourt Press on DashRadio Sports. Today we'll be discussing a lot of topics that most radio shows don't like discussing. My name is Coach O. We have Lady Zip in the building.
Yeah.
We have the Guru Ansar.
Yes, sir.
And special guest Torino Johnson.
My man.
Today we'll be discussing LeBron James. Recently he came out saying he was the best ever. Some of us agree, some of us don't. I agree. I'd like to hear some of my panel. Let's start with the Guru himself and why you guys should listen to the Guru, because he's actually LeBron James's trainer.
I'm going to go ahead and say he is one of the greatest players of all time, and I would put him at number one. And the reason why.
Sacrilege!
The reason why, if you look at what's going on, he's in his 15th season. Most players in their 15th season, their numbers and everything completely fall off. His are going up. He's shooting 54%. He's shooting better in every situation at this moment. That's why I think
in the JV
best.
League.
When you say the JV League, what do you mean?
The East, my friend, hasn't been competitive in years. I think I can still play by watching how the East get down.
At this point, they're third in the East right now, right? Number one is Toronto. Toronto, Boston, both those teams are very, very good. You know what I mean? So Houston took the Celtics to what? They only won by 3 points in the game. So when they're going, like they're playing pretty well, and Houston is the best team in the West.
I agree. Houston's a very competitive team. They still play a fun style of basketball. Defensively, they're not that great. If we're talking about the Boston Celtics in the East, I don't think they have a Hall of Fame on that team, currently speaking. And they're number one in the East.
Kyrie Irving, you don't think Kyrie Irving will be a Hall of Fame basketball player?
Currently, I wouldn't consider him a Hall of Famer now, no.
Why? Well, why wouldn't he be considered a Hall of Fame basketball player?
What's he in year 4, 5? He's only been an All-Star 3-4 times. You got a guy like Damian Lillard in the West that very rarely makes the All-Star because the West is so competitive. If you was to replace Damian Lillard, put him in the East, he'd be a perennial All-Star. We have guys on the West that don't even make All-Star games because it's so competitive out here.
I definitely do not disagree with you. But look at what Kyrie Irving has done at this point. Kyrie Irving is arguably the greatest finisher below the rim that we've ever had in the league, period. And he has a signature moment in the finals. Like everybody speak when they beat the Warriors, everybody talk about the block. But what happened next? Kyrie hit that shot.
Kyrie's sub 6 feet. There's not too many sub 6 feet guys that you can say is going to take guys to the promised land. There's only one person to ever do it. His name's Isaiah Thomas. It's that difficult. So when you have a guy of that stature, yeah, they get numbers, they get stats and all the above. And don't get me wrong, he's a very, very talented player. But I wouldn't say that just because you have Kyrie on the Boston Celtics, that make them one of the top formative teams ever. I'd like to hear from my other panel guests. Let's start with Coach Torino Johnson. He's one of the top coaches that's ever coached in California high school history, and now he's on the college level.
Yep. Well, you're talking about LeBron James in regards to being the GOAT. I think he's still completing his resume, and so that conversation is ongoing. For myself, I would go with Michael Jordan. I'd go Michael Jordan. I'd go Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And not necessarily in that order. I think Cap gets disrespected by not being in that conversation. When you're looking at all of the statistics, he's still number one in regards to scoring. And if you're talking about championships, which everyone always tries to lean on, then you're missing out on Bill Russell. And I don't think LeBron James is done with his career yet in regards to catching these guys, but I think it's premature.
Me, for one, I'd have to agree with Ansar in this regard. I would definitely put LeBron ahead of those two guys. Here's why. When you have big fellas, they need the guard. They need the guards to get them the ball.
Wait.
So the reason I bring LeBron is because I don't want to discredit my argument by saying he's not the best. When you tend to say someone's not the best, you tend to cut them off and you discredit yourself. I think Kobe is the best of all time. And here's why. He's the only perimeter player to ever win a championship without another Hall of Fame on his squad.
See, I'm a biased Lakers fan also.
The only perimeter player to ever win a championship.
I'm with the Lake Show over here.
I'm just saying.
To ever win a championship without another Hall of Fame on his squad. We can't consider Pau Gasol a Hall of Famer.
No, but
He's been a 2-time All-Star.
but no one would ever make that statement unless they're from Barcelona or Spain. I don't think any American player is claiming that Paul Gasol is the greatest of all time.
The one thing about the Paul Gasol argument, one year, and I think it was the year that they won the championship.
Okay.
Paul Gasol was the best player in the world. You know what I mean? They won everything overseas. So he will be an Hall of Fame player.
Definitely.
So was Tony Kukoc.
And Tony Kukoc would be a Hall of Famer as well.
Let's go, Zip. We're waiting to hear from you.
Well, my perspective is completely different. I say LeBron is the best because he's a family man.
Great point. That is a great point.
Hey, we have
That is a
something
great
here.
point.
We have something here when someone says something that's ridiculous. Flagrant foul. She's
Listen.
out of here. Back to Ansar. We need some real arguments.
Well, let me just give you his stats then, and then we can
Please
go from
do.
there. So LeBron right now is averaging 27 points a game. That's
15th year.
very well. 7 rebounds, and 5. Oh, my bad. Hold on a second. And and 7 steals. So the question is, who in their 15th year is
I
doing
think
that?
Kobe in his 16th year had superior stats, if I recall. The year he went out on that Achilles, he was carrying a team that I can't even recall the other 4 players on the squad. Let's look at LeBron James this year. He had a loaded squad to start the season that still wasn't good enough. Let's go ahead and trade everyone. Let's add some young athletic pieces. It's still not good enough. Let's go back to the Olympics. Let's play with 2 other Hall of Famers to be in their prime. It's never good enough. I like a player that's just going to take who they have, let's hoop, let's work, and stop all the complaining. Cole played with a starting 5. His second best player at the time was a kid named Kwame Brown, I believe. You had Kwame Brown, Smush Parker, Elo, and Luke Walton. And he wasn't out there saying, please give me more. He laced them up, he put his boxers on, and he went to war every night without complaints. He didn't complain about, I need to play less minutes. He didn't complain about none of the above. Let's go, Ansar.
Well, you also got to look at the championship years. You know what I mean? Like in the championship years, Kobe did have squads. He did have a great team. You know, Magic Johnson had a great team. Larry Bird had a great team. Now, you know, maybe Michael Jordan, his team wasn't as good, but he still had, at least 2 other Hall of Famers on his team. You know what I mean? So a lot of those guys, they needed other people to play. You know, LeBron right now, he's going out, and he's been probably the most underappreciated player in the league for a very long time. No one else has went to the finals 8 straight years like he has. And this year,
In the
I think he's
JV
gonna-
league.
Okay. He went in the JV league, as you called it. Okay. He still went. And we were having a discussion earlier before we came on air about the Lakers. You know, when the Lakers were winning those championships, and there was a cakewalk in the West. The only good team was the Houston Rockets.
I totally disagree. I mean, you have Portland, Clyde Drexler and his crew. Dallas Mavericks was fairly strong. Houston Rockets had the Twin Towers. I mean, you even had a team now that's replicating what Run TMC did back then that couldn't smell the playoffs or deep in the playoffs. That's how competitive the West were. The exact same team that's winning championships today, we've seen that before. They couldn't compete in the 80s, early 90s.
I don't know about that one, man. I'm looking at it, and I
Run
understand what you're
TMC
saying.
has 3 Hall of Famers.
Run TMC, they
3
did
Hall
have
of
Run
Famers.
DMC.
3 Hall of Famers.
They did have 3 Hall of Famers. You're 1,000% correct in that. But the Boston Celtics had how many Hall of Famers did the Boston Celtics have in the 80s? That 86 team.
Every team back then had 3 to 4 Hall of Famers. Every single team.
And the Boston Celtics had 6 or maybe 7.
But every team did.
Yeah.
If you look at Michael Jordan back then, Michael had Scottie Pippen, Rodman. He had some of the best shooters to ever play the game. Let's go, T.
I think the point that's missing is when you have these historic teams, and we go back and we look at all of them, they had players who now we can qualify and say, oh, they're great. They're all on the same team, and you had guys who starred in a role. Like Dennis Rodman with that Bulls team. He's a Hall of Famer, but he started in his role as a defensive player and as an incredible rebounder. And so even though that team is loaded, you still see that Michael Jordan carried the load in regards to what his responsibilities were. and always coming out victorious, right? In any championship that he went to. Now, I'm not using that argument to spite LeBron, but I'm just saying that I want to big up my guy when we're talking about winning in championships and why he's the GOAT, right?
Okay.
Like that's where I would go. I don't really have a knock on LeBron. It's just when we start talking about the GOAT, I go with other guys. There's no true knock on LeBron James' game. So I wouldn't be saying he didn't shoot a higher percentage or he dipped in scoring production. I wouldn't say any of those things because I'm a fan of his.
No, and I totally do not disagree with you. I think the point that you made is very, 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 very good point. But you looking at it.
Just for people that's tuning in, this is FullCourt Press on Dash Talk Radio. We're here discussing topics, like we said, that others wouldn't tackle. We recently just discussed the LeBron James, whether he's the greatest or not, with a panel, a celebrity panel, I shall say. We actually have LeBron James training in the building. He also trains a lot of other NBA guys. We have one of the top certified referees on the collegiate circuit, Lady Zip. We have one of the top Division II college coaches in the building who was up for the Kentucky assistant and a couple other big-name jobs. So we have some really quality people here on the panel right now that's discussing these topics and giving insight, controversial because, like we say, we're going to tackle them head on. But this is who you have, and this is why we do what we do. So right now we're going to go to commercial break. The phone number is 310-617-3254 here at Dash Talk. And we'll be right back with the next topic. Call in. We're looking for your calls. Tell us who you think's the greatest of all time. Welcome back to FullCourt Press with Coach O, Lady Zip,
Yeah.
and Sar.
Yes,
and
sir.
special